I'm the president of our Greater Salt Lake Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'd like all my sorors to please stand. And I want to give a special thanks to you, Dr. Moses, for this vision, and also Dr. Tamara Stevenson, my soror, and Dr. Roderick Land, ice cold. I am originally from New York. I hail from New York. I've been here almost 18 years. And let's see, we were chartered in 1988. Can I please, yes, my charter member right here, Dr. Kathleen Christie. Is anybody else here that's chartered? No. And I just want to say thank you, and I also agree with Judge Shauna. This is really amazing that we have the opportunity to be here in front of you today. So thank you, Dr. Moses, again.
All right. I'm originally from Rochester, New York, but I crossed and became a member of Phi Beta Sigma in New Mexico, a member of the chapter, Pi Nu Sigma chapter in Las Cruces, New Mexico. So, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me. My name is Jasmine Clarity. I am the Black Student Union Advisor at the University of Utah. I am a part of the Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. I'm originally from California, moved here from Las Vegas. I'm a part of the Eta Chi chapter in Las Vegas, and I pledged grad chapter. And I've been here in Utah for going on 6 months, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Pastor, for the vision, as well as thank you all for the welcoming presence you all have given me. So, thank you.
So if you can't tell already, as much as we have so much in common, we also celebrate our distinctions. If you even notice how they chose to arrange themselves today in order of the organization's founding, starting with Alpha Phi Alpha in 1906, going down to Sigma Gamma Rho in 1922. This is 7 of the 9 organizations that comprise the Divine Nine, which I think is an amazing feat in Utah. So I salute our panelists, our siblings, for being here, and some found out like a couple of days ago. So we want to, again, appreciate their commitment and their service here. So again, some good-natured bantering about who was first, who does that. We did that first. We're known for this. But as Dr. Land so eloquently shared during the Ubuntu message this morning, that there is such a rich foundation that guides all of us. And if you look at all of our mottos, they say something about sisterhood, brotherhood, service, scholarship, community. So with that said, I'd like to begin with the first set of questions, and we are going to protect time for questions from you before we conclude today. So to each of our panelists, this is a combined question. What led to your decision to join any Divine Nine organization? And so the next obvious question would be why you chose the organization you did. So you can take just a quick moment to ponder. You want to make it politically correct? No, you don't. Keep it real.
So you would like us to answer those 2 questions in tandem?
Yes, yes.
Well, I'll start it off, obviously.
See what I mean? See?
Represent.
I hate to be that guy, but I will be today. So again, from Kansas City, Missouri, from the rougher parts, right? Like probably most people here. I had an image of what blackness looked like around me. I went to an all-black high school, played sports, grew up in a coaching family, in a team family. But then ended up through scholarship, found my way to playing sports in college. Had a reset midway through and wanted to go to an HBCU where I had the opportunity to be accepted into Morehouse College. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough money to stay at Morehouse College. So I went back to playing ball. But while there, I got exposed to what Greek life looked like. And then I also was exposed to their new student orientation program, which helped me to understand what Black excellence in terms of maleness looked like. So kind of developed a thirst for that. And then at my next university, I made the decision to be a part of the Divine Nine, right? And the reason being is because across the board, that is what, in terms of Black excellence, looked like to me as a male. Then doing my research, I kind of looked around and saw the different, we'll call it somewhat stereotypes, right, in terms of the different chapters that were on campus. And out of the ones that were there, I chose Alpha Phi Alpha because of, again, what the involvement was from their alumni, what they were doing in corporate America, and then the image of them, how could I see myself developing relationships with them in a mentor to mentee capacity.
Well, unlike my brother here, I grew up here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and there wasn't a tremendous amount of Blackness except for here at Calvary. So when I left and went to Arizona State University, I didn't know that there were Black sororities and fraternities. And the first time, and we had everybody at Arizona State. I mean, even some that are not part of the Divine Nine. But when I first saw them on the yard for the first time, I was flabbergasted. And everybody came through, and you know, the alphas were too cold, and and just all of that. And it was beautiful. And the last group of people to present themselves were the AKAs. Now, everybody else had stepped, right? I mean, turned it out. But the AKAs sashed in and sang. And it was melodious and beautiful. And I said, that's the group for me. And there you go.
So I'm from upstate New York, a place called Schenectady, the birthplace of General Electric. So that's where I started my career. But I went to Hofstra University down at Long Island and a PWI. And so I went through an HEOP program, so naturally there's already that cohesion, brothers and sisters that are going through that challenge in a PWI. So I established good relationship with brothers that came through that program with me, just summer program in particular. And as and I didn't know anything about Black Greek life myself. And so some brothers had started doing some investigations into different fraternities. And so we reached out to alumni, because there were no NOOPs or any frats on Long Island. We reached out to various organizations, the alumni chapters of the various frats. And basically we just felt that the value proposition at that time that the New York alumni that was Omicron chapter had put forth, we just liked what they conveyed. We love the motto, achievement in every field of human endeavor, and they just seemed to take more of an interest in us. So we started our line, and appropriately we were called the Genesis line. And I liked, because we were the first, and I liked to convey the fact that we were the genesis of Black fraternities on Long Island.
All right, so I have like the realest answer. I always wanted gold boots. And seriously, so I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and my father, he was at Omega 73 out of YE, so I grew up in this. So I was the one with toddlers and Future Q. That was me growing up. So I'd never known anything else that I would like to be. I have Kappas in my family, I have Sigmas in my family, AKAs, my mom and sister Deltas. But as far as what I was going to do, there was no other choice. But growing up in Mississippi and going to Jackson State myself, you just know that Omega has a rich history. Everybody up here, founders had a rich history. We were founded on progressing the Black community. So just growing up knowing more about Omega, it was unreal what our founders did for the community. So I just want to keep their legacy going, but I got my gold boots.
I grew up in New York, Yonkers, New York, Westchester County, and I did not know of any Black Greek presence in my family, although I did have a auntie that was Sigma Gamma Rho. And I came here to Utah, and I just didn't know what hit me. It was a very different place than New York, and so it was really actually Dr. Christie that I began to know, and she became my mentor, and that's really where I received my exposure to Delta, and then I saw the other beautiful women with the crimson and cream, and I was hooked, and so that's my story.
All right, so when I was growing up in Rochester, New York, actually my uncle is a member of, he's an Alpha essentially, and so he attended Cornell University, where Alphas actually originated from. And he would take me during the summer sometimes for like weeks on end to do college tours, and he would always show me like, Elijah, you gonna be an Alpha? I was like, yeah, I don't know. And so he really encouraged me to kind of read up on the different Black Greek letter organizations and actually attend meetings and stuff like that. And when I was in middle school, I actually helped out with our Sigma Beta Club actually in local Rochester, New York. And so that got me involved. And when I was in the military, seeing several members of the military be part of Black Greek letter organizations, which really honed in on like, oh, okay, there's folks all over the world that are in these organizations. And so when I went to college, I actually had a brother, his name was Jamar Cotton. Never forget this brother. And he brought me actually to Christ. And so he was a Sigma, and he was like, Elijah, everything I do is through Christ, but we also have a calling of culture for service and service for humanity. And so with that, he really brought me in, and he was a mentor for me, and so that's why I ended up choosing to become a Sigma. Yeah.
All these incredible stories, wow. What a follow-up. I didn't have much of a Greek life presence in my family. Neither of my parents went to college, so I didn't have that experience. And then my brother went to college, and he became a Kappa. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I can't be a Kappa, but I can be something, you know? And went to college, and all of the Greek organizations were suspended on my campus, so that was out. But those who were there, I partied with all of them, right? So I moved to Las Vegas when I graduated college, and I was in Vegas by myself. I had no other people around me, and the first person that I met happened to be an SG Row. And she just was my friend, you know. She wasn't pressureful or any of that. And as I continued my time, I felt really lonely, but she was always my friend. She was always there for me. So I went to an informational tabling, so to speak, and the love and support that I felt with the women of Sigma Gamma Rho was what brought me there. And during my time of pledging, I lost 3 very impactful members of my family, and they were really there for me, being in Las Vegas by myself and just, you know, being sisters before I even became a sister of theirs, and that's how I knew I made the right decision. So.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing those narratives and those stories. So, all these organizations were started in the early 1900s, right? We started, again, from 1904 on up to 1922. For BGLOs, 1906 to 1922. And so we've walked through a lot of history, right? We've seen desegregation, Jim Crow laws, black codes, Reconstruction, going up to Black Power movement, women's suffrage movement, yada, 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 yada. And we've all played a major role within those spaces and times. So the question then becomes, in 2022, what's the relevance of BGLOs in today's society? Anyone can answer. Yeah.
Well, I certainly feel compelled to answer that question when I look on the Supreme Court of the United States of America and I see the first black woman. And of course, she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I'm very proud of that. But the fact of the matter is, I said the Supreme Court, excuse me, I meant the Vice President of the United States. No wonder my sorors didn't clap. But at any rate, I think we're all trying to get the first Supreme Court justice. She is not a member of the Divine Nine, by the way. We are all at her door. But I stand to say that although she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, what she will tell you and what she told us last month at our boule is that we, right, we were the secret weapon, the Divine Nine. Not only Alpha Kappa Alpha, but everybody that you see up here. I heard someone say today, and I don't know if it was the pastor or the guest pastor, that talked about if you look at any relevant movement, if you look at any positioning in the United States currently, you see a member of the Divine Nine. Now, we might jeer and laugh and talk about our colors and all of those things, but as a unit, we are the brain trust of this country. We are the talented 10th. And so just like we were relevant then, we are even more relevant now because it's the same stuff, a different day. And if we can pull together, we can catapult our people forward, which is what these organizations were trying to do as they were one generation from slavery. And so the mission continues, service to all mankind.
Yeah, I would add that, you know, when you look in historical perspective, especially there's a famous picture, I think it was before, unfortunately, when Martin Luther King was killed, and it shows Jesse Jackson, Ralph Abernathy, Martin Luther King, and I think there's, and there was one, but all of them were Greek letter members. And just the fact that, you know, again, all of our models essentially talk about achievement and service and delivering and supporting one another. So, and we talk about what's happening in Utah, because again, I live up at Hill Air Force, not at the base, but near Hill Air Force Base. And many of you all know about the DOJ, Department of Justice lawsuit that had occurred because of the Davis County schools. And so there were individuals, I've met a lot of Deltas, I met some AKAs that are really engaged in mitigating that. So we have to continue the fight. And Kamala Harris and other leaders, you know, again, are espousing, and we all are espousing and actively practicing what needs to happen in order to overcome and continue to strive and get Black power where it needs to be.
So we have over 200 initiates in 15 countries, 750 chapters. We have 12 mandated programs that we all conduct yearly. We're worldwide, we're global. We want to make a presence everywhere from Asia, Africa, Europe, here in America. So not just Omega presence, but I'm talking about Omega, but we're out there serving the community, and we're giving back to our kids, our children. We're politicians, we're engineers like myself, we're educators, we're lawyers. We have one of the biggest lawyers in the United States that is taking care of every civil lawsuit that has gone against Black injustice. So it's just, we're trying to make that presence. We're letting everybody know that, well, here in Utah, you talk to a white person, Caucasian person, and first thing they say is, hey, where's your fraternity from? What college? And we're like, we're global. So just trying to let people know that we're bigger than Utah. We're bigger than Jackson State. We're bigger than Alcorn. We're bigger than Cornell. So past the colors, we're everything that keeps this world going. So I'm not a name caller, but yeah, Ben Crump. He's Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, man.
All right, so I will share, particularly with my job, being in the Black Cultural Center at the University of Utah, that oftentimes, as we see each year, freshmen come in, and particularly Black students. And of course, our organizations are not just for Black people. We have to understand that they're historically Black, but anybody can join these organizations. But us being relevant, being in every kind of circle, being on the front lines of many injustices, being able to be in the courtrooms, to be the Vice President of the United States, to be in a FAIL, to be the director of the Black Cultural Center, to have these different professions and be examples for our generations going forward, I think we'll always be relevant because we are on the front lines, but also the examples for our future generations. Yeah.
If I could, as I was listening, one of the things that became apparent to me, back to your original question, Brother Land, the place of BGLOs in society, right? So the impetus for all of our foundings is to serve the Black community. When I look back into the various efforts that have taken place to advance the initiatives of the Black communities, we embody that, right, as all of these organizations. And when I think of who has successfully pulled that off, I don't know of any other organizations that have done a better job of excelling Black people, developing them, and supporting one another with very, very limited resources, right? So, and furthermore, we all hold great positions in various organizations, and we matriculate quite well into these organizations and achieve high standards, high success to set the example in the eyes of non-Black individuals of what it means to be Black. And then also combining that with some of the things that I've observed in terms of identity within the Black community, right? For the longest, it's been entertainment and it's been athletics, right? In terms of how other people see us. But here is a completely different representation, and I would say is probably more impactful than anything else that we've done as a community.
Such powerful responses to that question that epitomizes the global influence and impact of Black Greek letter organizations. And so that's why the next couple of questions kind of talk about how we exist, thrive individually and collectively in Utah. And also, please be thinking of questions you may have for the panel as well. We're protecting time for that. I'm born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, Northwest Side, first-generation college graduate. Hi, Rob. And coming to Utah, I only thought I was going to be here for a couple of years, and I am out of here. But clearly, that was not the case. And only 2 years in, I became a Delta. And one, it was divine order. Two, it was a dream, maybe, because I really thought it wasn't possible, and I appreciate Malijah talking about relating the spiritual aspects of it, because there are some, and this panel for me is really important because it is about demystifying false narratives about these experiences, and silly me was letting other people who had no clue about what these organizations were about to kind of influence that for me at a very young age. So when I talk about it being divine order for the organization that I chose me, mutually beneficial relationship there, it's all the more relevant being here in Utah. And as Eric talked about, many of us, and including you in the audience, are in spaces where you are the only one or just a few of you. And how do you maintain your identity? How do you preserve yourself in all of these ways? And so these next couple of questions kind of get at that. How does your Divineline membership help you to live and thrive here in Utah? And what is your most consistent strategy of support for living and thriving in Utah as a Black person?
I think that it creates a safe space for us to be with people who look like us, because we are on the front lines in a lot of our professions, our jobs. We are the only one. And it's really refreshing and nice to see somebody that looks like you, somebody that's going through what you're going through, someone who could have empathy on a different level, right? And basically you can comfortably tell your narrative, right? They're not assuming something or thinking something. You can say what you need to say and you're accepted no matter what. And I think in terms of, was it surviving, Dr.
Surviving
Stevenson?
and thriving.
I think it's just important to also remember from where we've come, remember from whence we've come, and remember whose shoulders we stand on as we interact with our own people and we interact with people who don't look like us. I think it's important for us to remember what our ancestors did and what they went through, and they give us the power to continue to strive and to thrive.
I will go next. As far as Divineline membership being a part of being here in Utah, honestly, my job in the description was to be a part of the Divineline. That was first and foremost. But in being here, I don't think that the community that I found would have been the same had it not been for the Divineline. It has been an amazing experience. And I said thank you at the beginning because I have not seen but one other SU row. But in the, excuse me, I'm sorry. In Divineline, I've been welcomed by every organization. I've found community, I found friendship, I found unity here on a level that I've never felt in California, that I've never felt in my journey in Las Vegas. Though my chapter is there, so there's that. But being here by myself, being in another state alone, having the Divineline here to thrive with has been incredible. And being able to thrive, just say yes to being able to be out in the world. If you find an event, if you find something that you can do to be a part of the community, just say yes. And that's how I have spent this last few months, is just saying yes to events and being out in the world and feeling that community, feeling that camaraderie with all of the Divineline, but as well as Black people in general, and just building community here in Utah.
I will share. So I often share this with a couple folks that I talk to frequently. But as far as in the impact on my life, coming here to Utah, if it wasn't for 4 Deltas and an Omega and several other individuals in the community, I wouldn't actually have a job at the Black Cultural Center, which was founded by 4 Deltas as well as an Omega and other countless people in the community working together to get a center here. And so without them, without their presence in Utah, putting in the work in, the days, the time, the hours, I wouldn't even have a job coming here to Utah. So can we give a round of applause for them? But also, yeah, just having that connection here in Utah in itself, really, yes, I've felt the most love from the various people in these organizations. You all have been a community. You all have been working with each other, are really huge advocates. I always see in the community when things are going down, y'all show up. When folks are getting backfired on, when things are going on in the legislation, things are going on with the Salt Lake City School District, things in the, all these things, you all show up in numbers. And I think that's very prevalent. And it's also inspiring because it shows that there's a community here in Utah. And so I just thank you.
So we are minority amongst minorities here in Utah. So being in the military, 22 years, 6 months, 14 days to be exact, in the Air Force, everywhere I went across the country, around the world, It's not many blacks in the military, so we kind of gravitate towards each other. And even inside the military, we have a lot of Omegas and Alphas and Kappas, and it's a smaller community. So my 22 years, 6 months, 14 days in the military, whatever base we went to, we always got together with all the Greeks, and it was just friendship. We all reminisced about what we did back down south, the hop shows, step shows, how we did everything. Some things, when we were younger, we did. But just coming here to Utah, first thing I did was reach out to the bros, and then I reached out to the the Deltas, then the AKAs, and then the church. And back down south, every church in every corner dealt with each other. But it was not to talk bad about the church, it was a little different here because the churches were a little divided. Calvary didn't talk to the point. What was it before the point? It was something else. They didn't do a lot of things together, but the Greeks within those church organizations got together and kind of brought those churches together. So I think just being here and being minority amongst minorities, the people you see up here and all you guys in the colors, you guys are bringing not just the Greeks together, you're bringing the churches together, you're bringing the schools together, the back-to-school barbecue, you name it, what we're doing, we're trying to bring that cohesiveness within people of color. And not just blacks, Hispanics, Asians, anybody in Utah, if you're not white, you're black. So we're trying to bring all those people together and kind of bring back culture that we grew up with within the South. So I've been here since 2015, September 4th, to be exact.
So my wife and I, we moved here 18 months ago. Before arriving, I was engaged in establishing, I'm the president of our alumni chapter at Iota Omicron. And so high on my list was, okay, what's happening with the Noops out here? So don't laugh, but basically in all of Utah, I think there's probably 15 Kappas in all of Utah. And I don't even want to talk about how many are financial, which is an issue in all fraternities and sororities. But I was real encouraged this past summer at Juneteenth, because I was went to the Ogden, went to the Salt Lake City, and just to finally start plugging into black folks that were doing things. And again, a lot of the Greek organizations here, and I don't want to call out anyone specifically, but just doing really proactive things. And it was just, especially at the Salt Lake City event, I met a lot of the Omega brothers, and we were all sitting around chatting and, shooting the breeze and, jiving and messing with each other. But it all came down to, I got brothers, D9 brothers. And so that was very, very encouraging. And so I'm still looking. I'm going to be reaching out to some brothers here. I've looked at the scroll, and there's some that are active and hopefully trying to reestablish something, because, it's in your blood, once a Kappa, always a Kappa. And then some other things I just do from an outlet standpoint is, I'm very active in the Air Force, in addition to my regular job with diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So I started at F-16, what we call the Harmony Council. I'm also working at the headquarter Air Force level. So that is my way of, again, trying to give back, especially, as you probably know, in the military, there's some endemic and systemic racism that occurs that has mitigated our ability to rise and to exceed. And it's getting better, but we still have to get people over the issue with regard to this unconscious bias that's adversely affecting interviews and promotion and rewards. So, thank you.
So thank you for all those answers. Yeah, we can clap. It's fine. So there are very powerful answers to the question in terms of how we thrive and survive here in Utah. We also had conversations about the relevance of these BGLO organizations, right? And so I'll simply put forth this question. In 2022, there's a myriad of issues that we see plaguing our society, right? What would you suggest may be that single issue that then Divine Nine collectively can get behind to move the needle on?
I'll give it to you because you were first.
Man, so obviously I'm not from here, right? My wife is originally, but ironically I'm the one who drug her back here. probably kicking and screaming. But in doing so, I kind of come to the realization that, and actually in Omega and Cell, I met him when I first came here. He's like, nah, bro, you gonna stay? I'm like, nah, bro, I'm leaving. I'm out. But in doing so, I have found that I believe it is God leading me to serve this community in a very specific way via my organization. Here, the black community has a severe or loss of identity. Like, they just don't know what it means to be black outside of Utah, which is a completely different experience, as I'm sure you all know. And then I've also, going a little bit further, understanding that that dynamic is even different from male to female in terms of their experience here in Salt Lake. And through my wife, I've gained exposure as to, you know, even more how impactful that is being the only black girl, right? Not just being a black man, but then even a black girl and all of those challenges that come with it. So I think what I'm finding is starting first with the men to help cultivate a better product in terms of the young African-American men who are here, to be confident in themselves, to be assertive, to be educated, and then also to be culturally experienced. And then by way of that, we can create a better product for the young women around that age, right? And then supporting each one of these organizations here, and specifically the women, with their initiatives and bringing those, everyone together in that way. So I think that's the way that I found that our organization, through Pi Xi Lambda, can be most effective in the community and our society at large.
I think if I understood the question correctly, it was, what is the one thing that you thought that we could do to move the needle forward?
Collectively, as Divine Nine, yes.
And I'm wrestling with this a little bit because I think that there is a current issue and then there's a future issue. So I think that there are two answers to the question, and I don't want to not answer your question correctly. But in the short run, it is imperative that we come together in an effort to get people out to the polls. Even in this state, although we are surrounded, we are what, like, I believe it's 80-20, but that doesn't matter. The power of the vote, making sure that people understand and know that, you know, our forefathers died for that right. You know, when I see somebody that says that they don't vote, you know, and I'm not saying that because I'm on the ballot this year, but I'm saying that because it is extremely important. It is extremely important. So that's in the short run. But as I look at it globally, I think that it's imperative of us to make sure that we impart a good sense of self to our communities at large. I think, you know, we're suffering from a lack of a self-image, a lack of a good self-image. And in a lot of ways, though, I think it's not, I think it's even in the ranks of the Divine Nine. As I listen to people talk, and being from here, you know, being born and raised from here, being born and raised here, of course, my perspective is a little different. And of course, I left here believing that, you know, we had nothing in this valley and everything that was good and black was not from the state of Utah. And it took leaving this state and understanding that black people everywhere struggle. So, you know, I think it's imperative that we understand that we want to take the good and we want to increase the good. There is something very positive about small numbers. You get to other places where there are large numbers, people are crawling all over each other for positioning, where in a state like this, just to be, I have to tell you, just to be a young black woman in this community, I was supported by everybody imaginable. There's a lot of people that didn't stay that are not in here, but when I grew up in this community, the Elks was the big organization, and they were not, a lot of them didn't have the degrees and all of those kinds of things, but they moved this community. I look at the barbecue that the Qs had on Saturday, and I chuckle. And I say, because coming up, we took over Jordan Park for Labor Day and had a serious barbecue every year. Back to school efforts, Christmas efforts, and I think that we did that because we were able to come together in those small numbers. And so in the long run, I think the importance, Dr. Land, is that we remember that we can come together as one and do all that needs to be done.
To piggyback on my brother and sister down here, for all of you who are here and who have stayed in the state of Utah, this great beehive state, thank you. Thank you for staying, because representation matters. And I think as we move forward, Dr. Land and Dr. Stevenson, the charge is clear that this is not the only time that we are together in this room. Yesterday, we were able to be at the back-to-school barbecue led out by the Omegas, and we had presence there, our Divineline presence. We must continue, we have to continue together, to partnership together as we move forward in this great state, because it's amazing how when we're small like this, right? Some of us come from big states where there are a lot of black folks, right? New York, a lot of black folks. And I think we have an opportunity to change. I heard today in our sermon, is it Dr. Lawrence? Hunter, sorry, Dr. Hunter, saying that, not in our time, but in God's time, right? And now is the time. Now is the time for us to rally together and do what we need to do together as black people, as a Divineline organization, so we can move forward. And we have to do it not just for us, not just for our ancestors, but for our children coming up. It was said by our Kappa right here about Davis School District. Every school district in our state is Davis School District. We all have these things going on with our babies, and we have to be able to step up, but not just in education, in the judicial system, in healthcare, in sciences, in everything. So this cannot be the first, my brothers and sisters, for us to get together and be here. This might have been the first, but we have to continue to do this and to get together in partnership.
What? Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Eric had said that really resonated with me when he talked about black identity. Because one of my pet peeves when I got here, and still is when you're in Walmart or somewhere and you see a brother and they walk by and they just stare down. And I'm like, from the East Coast, I'm like, where's the eye contact? Where's the nod? And so I think they've been, unfortunately, some have been beaten down so long and subjugated to this environment. It's sad. And I'm like, we got to change that. So one to the question at hand, I know at Kappa, we have something called Kappa League, where we go into the schools and help facilitate and give black children the identity of, education, achievement, and so on. And so since there's so few of our black children here, what I would love to see is, and I don't know what the other Greek organizations are doing, but if we could collectively, again, target and earmark those children so that they can see themselves in us and know that, okay, there is a potential. Because I grew up poor, I got to go to school free through HEOP. There are those opportunities to do that. And so that's the key, I think, is letting these children that may have no hope or think that college is outside the realm of possibility to see themselves in us and hear our stories so that it can motivate them. And then we mentor and coach and encourage them. So that's all I want to say.
All right, I'll do this quickly. I think one pressing issue, and I think most of them already had kind of talked about it, is education, especially here in Utah. Higher education particularly, I think we should focus our efforts on. And the reason why, one, if you all don't know, men of color, particularly black men, retention rates in college are terrible, particularly here in the state of Utah, are terrible. as far as in retaining men. They are not graduating from college. For every 2 degrees a black woman attains here, it's a half a degree or an associate's degree a black man attains here in the state of Utah. So keeping that in mind, how do we retain men of color, and particularly black men in college? Another thing, the student loan crisis. $2 trillion student loan crisis. You know the majority of the student loans is black folks. We owe the majority of those student loans. We are not necessarily proactively looking at how do we eradicate loan debt. Also, financial services, looking at how do we particularly look at making sure that our students don't go into huge amounts of debts when they graduate college. And I think if we can focus our efforts together on working on those two things, as well as understanding, for instance, black girls in K through 12 are getting suspended. They're getting harassed and various other aspects. Like, how do we focus on those efforts collectively in our community? Because those things are happening local here, but we're not really fighting against that thing. And so if we can come together to fight against that, I think that'll be very great. Yeah.
Thank you all for those responses, and hopefully they are prompting or inspiring ideas amongst us to be able to initiate after today. In our fleeting time left, are there one or two kind of percolating questions that you gotta have answered before we leave here today? So there's 1 and 2, so I'm going to carefully walk. Yeah, I know I was supposed to be Oprah, right? Not Oprah, but that was who I wanted to be. So I can just stand.
Hi, my name is Alicia Darasol. I am Elijah Garfield's wife, and I have a nonprofit that I work with black children here in the state. And so I was curious to know, what does the Divine Nine think about when it comes to black people of other cultures? So we have a lot of refugees and we have immigrants here. So how are you bridging the gap to bring those communities into, I would say, the African American experience and expose them to the Divine Nine in the community?
So, I'm a ball player, right? So, played ball through college, and that's actually how I meet most of the black people out here that I do meet, is on the basketball court. But there's also, that's how was my first exposure to the, we'll call it the larger diaspora, right, of the African community. And I think it starts with developing friendships first, right? With any group, before you can serve them, you have to really understand them, what the challenges are that they deal with. There's a huge refugee population I found here, and talking with those individuals, talking with some of the, we have a partnership with West High School, and some of the stories you hear about those young men who come through that program and what they're doing for their families and what they had the experience to get here is amazing. So through them, I have also found there is another organization that also focuses on mentoring those who come through that refugee program as well. So we've lent ourselves to them to support their initiatives, and I think it's more so about developing a symbiotic relationship. What are your aims? What are your initiatives? How can we support you, as opposed to trying to overtake it? Because we all know how we feel when other folk try to come and tell us what to do with our business.
So we do mentorship at the Boys and Girls Club twice a month. Also last year, we went out and we gave the refugees probably like 300 backpacks that we had left over last year. So we're trying to do more stuff to get them to come out and participate in a lot more stuff that we have. We're trying to build and expand on some of our mentorship programs STEM with the refugees. So it's just a matter of time to put that together, but in the next year, we're planning on doing more of that.
We have a couple of programs, educational programs. We have our Delta Gems and Academy, and we'd like to start up our Embody. We see all these black men here that could be mentors to our boys for our Embody program, so we will be hitting you up for that. And I think it's really important to understand that we're all one people, but even the way in which our refugee students experience racism and how they internalize it is different than how Black Americans born here on American soil experience it. And then let's not forget our students, our kiddos who are from transracial adoptions, right? So we have a different kiddos that are all our kiddos that we're dealing with, and I think it's important for us to really realize we're reaching out to all of them because we all are the same, right? We all are. And so for us, that's how we're doing it as Deltas, but I think we all could be doing a better job because they're all our people, every single one of them. So I think we need to really be able to understand that, and we need to be able to reach out to all populations of our kids.
I'm going to
And
quickly
families.
go to the next. Thank you for those responses to that question. Yes.
I have so much I could talk about, but I don't want to be here till tomorrow. My name is Nilsa Brooks. I am a parent. I have twins that are attending the University of Utah. My daughter just crossed over Delta in the spring. My son is here as a sophomore, too. His father's an Alpha, so we're looking. But I just wanted to thank Malijah for all the work that he's done at the University of Utah. This man is in everything. He leads programs. He's winding up the flag for the Juneteenth program. He's playing the DJ. He does everything. But my question and my concern is that your numbers are so large here for graduate chapters. When and how and what are you doing to start undergraduate chapters? Our babies need you. I was at City Creek Mall yesterday. I saw a football player with U on him. I said, come here. Come here, you go to the U? I said, have you ever been to the Black Cultural Center? He says to me, what is that? I had lunch with the VP of EDI 2 days ago. She says to me, Marianne says to me, the only time we see Black athletes from University of Utah come to the Black Cultural Center is when there's a problem. When there's a problem. My husband is an Alpha. He went over in '88 at Virginia Tech. He said we used to go and knock on dorm doors. Anywhere else in Utah, I know on the East Coast, they know what the Divineline is. They're looking to get in. The ones that are born and raised here, they don't. They know nothing about it. You need to go get our babies. You got to go get them, and we need you. Our children need you on these campuses. And what are you doing to start an undergraduate chapter?
So, yes, thank you. Delta Sigma Theta, we have our Sigma Omicron chapter, ladies. So we are on the campus of the University of Utah, but I do definitely agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it starts with our young children, so we do need to have a presence on our campuses, on the yard.
I'll answer this question specifically on that. As far as what we can do, you got to pressure the fraternity and sorority life office at these particular colleges. For instance, at the U, we just had a director leave. Her name was Jess Turek. She's no longer there, but they're in the process of hiring. So if anybody would like to be over fraternity and sorority life, you should apply, get some of that money. But apply at the University of Utah to be, the director of fraternity and sorority life. To be, working with myself along with other individuals and helping these chapters get on campus. We also understand that each of our organizations have different requirements, and so you need also engagement. So assist me, help me, let's do some things together.
I just want to make one comment on that.
Yeah.
Does the University of Utah have like an interest for sororities a couple of days ago? So the Deltas was there. There was only 3 of them there. There had been 800 girls there. Now, one African American. But the 3 Deltas that were there, they strolled. I was videotaping. Once it was done, the whole crowd erupted in applause. They ran over to the 3 girls. Oh, we heard about you. We want to know more. So even your white sisters out there, they want you there. They want to know more about you and are willing to support you. But again, we need you.
Yes, we need you. So if you can, please thank you so much. We need you on campus to be involved, and we need you to partner with us. Partner with myself at the Black Cultural Center, partner with these different organizations at the particular college campuses around the state. It's not just the U. I mean, at every institution here in the state, we should be having a presence. And so just kind of doing that and going that way, yeah.
Thank
think in
you.
addition
Thank
to
you.
that-
Oh,
I think in addition to that, it'd be important for us to get together again as a Divineline organization to talk about it, because it wasn't easy for us to sustain Sigma Omicron on our campus, right? We were for many years a chapter of one, had a couple come in, chapter of one. So I think too, in terms of our letters, Dr. Christie, advisor, Sora Bridget Baker, Sora Denise Elbert, they were pivotal in getting letters and meeting with Greek life offices to make sure that we were able to be on the campus. So we are too at the Y, UVU, other place, Utah Valley, thank you, SUU, yeah.
And
So-
soon to be Westminster, although we've never had Greek life.
First time for everything. You see that alpha over there, ice cold.
So we do have to close. We are at our time. Please help me thank this panel, my co-moderator, our visionary in the form of Dr. Oscar Moses, who will provide closing remarks.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
It's on.
It's very, very low. Okay, well, first of all, I think this has been a very robust conversation. I want to thank Dr. Tamara Stevenson, Dr. Roger Bland. One more time, put your hands together for them. If I'm not mistaken, this is possibly the first Divine 9 Sunday that has been given here in Utah, but it has not been without pushback. It has not been without pushback. Where I come from Chicago, and this is normal. Greek life is celebrated for education as well as service, but also I think that this was a great opportunity for us to get connected, to know one another, and my prayer was that from these conversations that something great would come out of this meeting today. Believe me, I've been praying about this day, and my prayer was that the Lord would open up an opportunity. In my remarks this morning, I said, for some that see this as an opportunity, some might see it as opposition because they don't know and they don't understand what Black Greek letter organizations are about. And so I think that the conversations today have been robust. They've been very informative. And what I would like to see happen out of this, and I've heard some of the panelists speak on this, is that we take the responsibility. Our theme here, motto at Calvary, is preparing future generations to evangelize the world. That's under the banner of what we call the Christian Family Value System, is to take what we are sharing today and share that with some young person here in the state of Utah. We have a responsibility to share our faith and to share our stories with one another, that they won't think that strange when we do Divine 9 Sunday again. So I want to thank each of you for coming out. I'm going to ask Sister Emma Houston to come at this point, and she wants to share some information with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. To my president, Judge Shauna Graves Robertson, and all of the Divine 9, to our host, our Reverend Oscar T. Moses, thank you so very much. One of the things that you listen, we have protocol. You all know we have protocol. And I so want my president to look at me and say, okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, yes.
We have protocol. One of the things that we are adamant about is the safety of our families with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Upsilon Beta Omega was given the opportunity to have some gun locks. We want to ensure that individuals who have guns in their homes and also have children in their homes, that they are securing them. So we have been granted at least 18 of these gun locks. And if anyone would like those, I'm going to pass the box on to my president, and she can distribute those. So thank you, Dr. Moses, for allowing that to happen.
Thank you, Sister Houston. Let me say before I give the closing prayer, there's a position you said that was open for Greek life, or Dr. Hunter said he wants to apply for that position.
All right.
He's not leaving Maryland. He was being facetious. He pastors a great church in Silver Springs, Maryland. Let me say something about him before we get ready to close. He's a scholar and a gentleman. We met probably, 12, 13 years ago as we were both pursuing our Doctor of Ministry at the United Theological Seminary. He's an author and a celebrated pastor. I would that you would, in your time, Google Dr. Jameson Hunter. He's a great soul and a great gift to the body of Christ. I said this when I preached in Silver Springs, Maryland. We got all these alphas here, Brother Bossless. I said that Jesus had it right when he said the first shall be last and the last shall be. I can't hear nobody. Let's stand. Let's stand. I'm a call and response person, and I believe that dialogue is good. Look at somebody and say, if every Christian or if every person was just like me, what kind of world would this world be? God of grace and God of mercy, Lord, we thank you for yet another expression of your goodness. We thank you, Father, for the time that we've had to share. We pray, oh God, that through these conversations that our hearts would be open, both receptive and responsive to what heaven is saying to us for the living out of these days. And for that, we say thank you in advance for the victory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.